Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for joining this morning. This is the final lesson, class, discussion for this chapter, and then on Wednesday we'll have the overview. So no program Wednesday morning. We will have the overview in the evening with His Grace Ajay Gorai. So look forward to that and hope we can all join. So let's start with Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunj Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunj Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Giravardhari Shodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Shodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Agyanatimirnasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Nitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranmami Haripriya Vanchakalpatu Brihescha Kirpa Sindhu Vevacha Patitana Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Parcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasdi Go Bhakt Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Grim Yat Kirpatam Hamandeshi Gurundin Taranam Paramanandam Ashram Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tassat Narayam Namaskritya Naram Chevarna Uttamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamuduriyat Nashta Preshabdreshu Nityam Bhagavad-Sevayā Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you. And let's continue with the verse 34. And so last time we were saying that Bhakti Yoga is most auspicious and satisfying, is susukham kartum abhyam. So it's joyfully performed and is everlasting. That is Bhakti Yoga. And we've discussed about the other yogas the yogis do to get to the higher planets and then back to Godhead if possible. But just go straight to Bhakti. Lord Chaitanya says the person who goes straight to Bhakti is most chatur in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you want to be chatur, then do Bhakti. No need to mess around with other disciplines. So everything is coming in disciplic succession. The Vedas, Krishna, to Brahma, to Narada. So everything that we are receiving, we are discussing. It's nothing that I have invented or somebody else has invented. It's coming straight from Krishna. And as it's mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita that Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So eventually even the Gyanis, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanvan Prapadate. So even the Gyanis realize after many births that Krishna is the source of everything. But to be a Mahatma like that, it's very rare. Very rare. So but eventually they'll discover that they need to do bhakti to Krishna if they want to achieve anything. Otherwise, knowledge is just knowledge, has no meaning. Without Krishna, nothing has any meaning. And Guru says that Krishna has unlimited liberated souls in the spiritual world, and yet he still cares for us fallen souls in the material world, whereas the spiritual soul is 3 times bigger, spiritual world is 3 times bigger, and there are many liberated souls. There's unlimited souls here, and if we say that there are more than souls here, then you can just imagine how much more there are up there. And so he cares for every soul there is. He has super soul with them, looking after them all the way. And just to talk to someone, they're saying that even if you get a lower birth, if you get an animal's body, so it's not as punishment as we see the punishment. It's just fulfilling your desires. If you're going to live like an animal, somebody lives like a pig, somebody sleeps like a bear, or he likes to eat a lot of meat. So Krishna says, look, you want to do all this, I'll give you the right body for it. So he's not punishing you. He's saying that enjoy properly. You want to enjoy properly, I'll give you the right body to enjoy these desires that you have. So how can that be punishment? The only punishment is that you're then stuck in the 8.4 million lives, and then somebody's got to pull you out of that, or you get Krishna's mercy that you will come out of that. That's the only thing. So that's we have to be careful that we don't fall into that trap, that we get stuck. There's 8.4 million lives, and only few of them are human bodies. Rest are animals, plants, fish, etc. So we have to be careful that we don't fall into that trap. Otherwise, Krishna does no wrong. He just fulfills the kind of desires we have. He will reciprocate accordingly. Give us what we desire. So that's that. So 34. Bhagwan Brahma Kartsneyena Tarir Anvikshya Manishaya Tad Adhya Vasayat Kutstho Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet. So Bhagwan, the great personality Brahma, and Brahma, the Vedas, Kartasneyena, by summarization, Trihi, 3 times, Aniviksha, scrutinizingly examined, Manisha, with scholarly attention, that Adi Vasyat, ascertained it, Kut, stha, with concentration of the mind, Radhi, attraction, Atmani, onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, Yatha, by which Bhavet, it so happens. In translation by Srila Prabhupada of this verse is, the great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. So, 3 times he studied the Vedas, and then he came to that conclusion, and that was done scrutinizingly. So Shri Shukdev Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is a qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. Although Brahmaji was to hear Vedic instructions directly from the personality Godhead in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all prospective students of the Vedas. Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unallied devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad-Gita, directly presented by the Personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all Acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Veda Vad Ratas, as explained in the Bhagavad-Gita 2.42. So, I mean, we don't have the facility to read the Vedas, not even once, because Vedas is like many multiple books, which we can't read in one lifetime, not in our lifetime anyway. Lord Brahma could read it 3 times because he has very long lifespan, and he's the highest authority as well. He's the best of the jivas. So he can do that, and plus he has a very responsible role. He needs to know, because he is in a disciplic succession as well with Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna passes the message on to him, then he will pass it on to Narada, and then so on. So he has a very big responsibility to make sure that the message is conveyed in the right way, that he has understood the message as well. And we have responsibility when we are giving class, or we are giving preaching to anyone, that we give them the right information, right message up to our level. If we don't know, then say, I don't know this part. So we just follow what we have been taught or what we have read as it is, not make our own judgment or conclusions. But the conclusion of Vedas is given here. So we can, we don't have to read the Vedas, we just understand the conclusion, and the Vedas have been condensed into Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Anyway, we have Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the essence of the Vedas. So that's 34. So it just mentioned here that Lord Brahma with 4 heads also confirmed that this is the right path that we are on. So confirmed by Lord Brahma. And our Lord Brahma has 4 heads. Even he had 1,000,000 heads, which some universes have, they will still have the same conclusion. Bhagwan sarva bhuteshu lakshitha sav atmana hari drishya buddhi adbhir drishta lakshane anuma pakahi. So Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead, sarva, all, bhuteshu, in the living entities, lakshitha is visible, swa atmana, along with the self, harihi, the Lord, drishyahi, by what is seen, buddhi adbhi, by intelligence, drishta, one who sees, lakshanahi, by different signs, anuma pakahi, by hypothesis. So the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is in every living being along with the individual soul as Paramatma. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. So the general argument of the common man is that since the Lord is not visible to eyes, how can one either surrender unto him or render transcendental loving service unto him? To such a common man, here is a practical suggestion given by Srila Swami as to how one can perceive the Supreme Lord by reason and perception. Actually, the Lord is not perceived by our present materialized senses, but when one is convinced of the presence of the Lord by a practical service attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy, as such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and everywhere. He can perceive that intelligence is the form, direction of the Paramatma, plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. The presence of Paramatma in everyone's company is not very difficult to realize, even for the common man. The procedure is as follows. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but by using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, the leg, the head, the hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcels. But as such, the hand, the leg, the head, etc., cannot be identified with his self. Therefore, just by using intelligence, he can distinguish and separate his self from the other things that he sees. So the natural conclusion is that the living being, either man or beast, is the seer, and he sees besides himself all other things. So there is a difference between the seer and the seen. Now, by a little use of intelligence, we can also readily agree that the living being who sees the things beyond himself by ordinary vision has no power to see or to move independently. All our ordinary actions and perceptions depend on various forms of energy supplied to us by nature in various combinations, our senses of perception and of action. That is to say, our five perceptive senses of hearing, touch, sight, taste and smell, as well as our five senses of action, namely hands, legs, speech, evacuation organs and reproductive organs, and also our three subtle senses, mind, intelligence and ego. So that's 13 senses in all, are supplied to us by various arrangements of gross or subtle forms of natural energy. And it is equally evident that our objects of perception are nothing but the products of the inexhaustible permutations and combinations of the forms taken by natural energy. As this conclusively proves that the ordinary living being has no independent power of perception or of motion. And as we undoubtedly feel our existence being conditioned by nature's energy, we conclude that he who sees is spirit, and that the senses as well as the objects of perception are material. The spiritual quality of the seer is manifest in our dissatisfaction with a limited state of materially conditioned existence. That is the difference between spirit and matter. There are some less intelligent arguments that matter develops the power of seeing and moving as a certain organic development. But such an argument cannot be accepted because there is no experimental evidence that matter has anywhere produced a living entity. Trust no future, however pleasant. Idle talks regarding future development of matter and spirit are actually foolish because no matter has ever developed the power of seeing or moving in any part of the world. Therefore, it is definite that matter and spirit are two different identities, and this conclusion is arrived at by the use of intelligence. Now we come to the point that the things which are seen by a little use of intelligence cannot be animate unless we accept someone as a user of or director of the intelligence. Intelligence gives one direction like some high authority, and the living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. So it's mentioned here that there's something spiritual is moving something material. The material cannot move itself. It doesn't have the ability, it doesn't have the intelligence. Everything is coming from the spiritual. That little spiritual spark is moving, animating the body, whether it's a human, animal, or or like an elephant or something. That one little spark doesn't change size just because the animal is bigger or the entity is bigger. Just the same size spark, one 10,000 size tip of a hair can animate anything. It's that powerful, and that's what's animating everything, not the material body, not the material shell that we're given. They don't have the ability. Just like AI, right? The AI is developing, it evolves, and it learns what we give it. It doesn't have its own. It did not start by itself. Somebody started the process. A human started the process, and sometimes if the AI does something out of his own accord, it just seems unnatural, unbelievable. They've like made films on that kind of thing, that the machines are taken over. That's fiction, right? And it's just not. It's not acceptable for the AI to think for itself, right? It's like unheard of or unimaginable that the AI can make its own decisions, even though that's just like that's still the algorithms and things that are placed by humans. If it does something which is out of the ordinary, but naturally it's not accepted or expected to do things, think for itself. It's not, not yet anyway. So it's not expected to do that because it's not spiritual, it's material. Even if it's intelligence, it's artificial intelligence. So at this point in our investigation, I think we missed a bit. So when one fails to take advantage of intelligence, he becomes a deranged man, and so a living being is dependent on intelligence or the direction of a superior being. Such intelligence is all pervading. Every living being has his intelligence, and this intelligence, being the direction of some higher authority, is just like a father giving direction to his son. So the Paramatma is the authority, and we are the high authority to the artificial intelligence, being the direction of some high authority. It is just like the father giving direction to his son. The high authority who's present and residing within every individual living being is the super self or the super soul. So at this point in our investigation, we may consider the following question. On the one hand, we realize that all our perceptions and activities are conditioned by arrangements of material nature, which is the three modes. Yet we also ordinarily feel and say, I am perceiving or I am doing. Therefore, we can say that our material senses of perception and action are moving because we are identifying the self with the material body. And that the superior principle of super self is guiding and supplying us according to our desire. By taking advantage of the guidance of super self in the form of intelligence, we can either continue to study and to put into practice our conclusion that I am not this body, or we can choose to remain in the false material identification, fancying ourselves to be the possessors and the doers. Our freedom consists in orienting our desire either toward the ignorant material misconception or the true spiritual conception. We can easily attain to the true spiritual conception by recognizing the super self, the Paramatma, to be our friend and guide, and by dovetailing our intelligence with the superior intelligence of Paramatma. The super self and the individual self are both spirit, and therefore the super self and the individual self are both qualitatively one and distinct from matter. But the super self and the individual self cannot be on equal level, because super self gives direction or supplies intelligence, and the individual self follows the direction, and thus actions are performed properly. So the individual soul is completely dependent on the direction of the super self, because in every step the individual self follows direction of super self in the matter of seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, willing, etc. So basically nothing is in our control as far as this material body is concerned. We don't really have any control. We can lose control at any time of our thinking, of our feeling, of our willing, of our seeing, hearing. We can lose. We're not in control of those faculties. Somebody else is giving us that control, is allowing the power. As soon as we're born, we have that facility. It's not something that we sort of switched on ourselves. It's there, given to us. And sometimes it's not given to us. So the Lord decides, how He's going to deal with us. So we're not the doers in anything. We're given all this. We have the ability to breathe oxygen, give out carbon dioxide. We didn't arrange that. That was already, everything's arranged for us. When we are born, everything's arranged for us. So far as common sense is concerned, we come to the conclusion that there are three identities, namely matter, spirit, and super spirit. It's not that they're all one. Spirit and super spirit and matter, they're all one. Or that spirit and super spirit are one. See, this is the conclusions that people reach. Even after reading the scriptures, some may have never read the scriptures and they're following on from the ancestors, what they taught them. And others, even after reading the scriptures, like the Mayavadis, they come up with their own conclusions, right? There was Mayavadis preaching to was it Acharya? He was preaching to Mahaprabhu for please correct me if I've got the name wrong, for 7 days, about Vedanta. But Mahaprabhu says that it's very nice, but you misunderstood. So and he was like, I think he was the advisor to the king himself. The people, they can misread, misunderstand, misinterpret knowledge. Gyan can be misinterpreted, and they come to their own conclusion. They think spirit and super spirit are one, which means that we are also super spirit. We are Bhagwan. This is the Mayavad problem. And Srila Prabhupada says that when we're reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad-Gita or Chaitanya Charitamrita, it should be done, with other people, so we don't misinterpret. It should be done with devotees, in other words, that we don't misinterpret the information and make up our own conclusions. Now, if we go to the Bhagavad-Gita or the Vedic intelligence, we can further understand that all three entities, namely matter, individual, spirit and spirit, are all dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Super Self is a partial representation or plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I said before that the Paramatma is the seventh expansion of the Lord, not first, second or third, it's seventh expansion of the Lord. The Bhagavad-Gita affirms that the Supreme Personality of Godhead dominates all over the material world by his partial representation only. God is great, and he cannot be simply an order supplier for the individual selves. Therefore, the Super Self cannot be a full representation of the Supreme Self. So, Krishna is mentioned as the Supreme, and Paramatma is mentioned here as the Super Self. So, Krishna is Supreme Self, Paramatma Super Self. Super Self, Purushottam, Purushottam, the Absolute Personality of Godhead. Realization of the Super Self, that's Paramatma, by the individual self is the beginning of self-realization. And by the progress of such self-realization, one is able to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by intelligence. By the help of authorized scriptures and principally by the grace of the Lord. So we need mercy as well to understand the Lord. The Bhagavad-Gita is a preliminary conception of the personality of God as Sri Krishna, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a further explanation of the science of Godhead. So if we stick to our determination and pray for the mercy of the director of intelligence sitting within the same bodily tree, like a bird sitting with another bird, as explained in the Upanishads, certainly the purport of the revealed information in the Vedas becomes clear to our vision. So just read that again. So if we stick to our determination and pray for the mercy of the director of intelligence sitting within the same bodily tree, like a bird sitting with another bird, as explained in the Upanishads, certainly the purport of the revealed information in the Vedas becomes clear to our vision, and there is no difficulty in realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva, the intelligent man, therefore, after many births of such use of intelligence, surrendered himself at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, as confirmed by Bhagavad-Gita 7:19, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, as we just said earlier. Such use of intelligence surrenders on himself at the lotus feet of Vasudeva. So, Srila Prabhupada has given this a lot of time and detail, because this chapter is called The Lord in the Heart, right? So, that's Paramatma, and explained. So this is 35. Okay, it just says Sankhya philosophy distinguishes between material and spiritual. Okay, let's quickly move. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavya kriti avyascha smritavyo bhagwan nirnam. So tasmat, therefore, Sarva, all, Atmana, soul, Rajan, O King, Hari, the Lord, Sarvatra, everywhere, Sarvada, always, Shrotavya, must be heard, Kritavya, glorified, Cha also, Smritavya, be remembered, Bhagwan, the person of Godhead, Narnam, by the human being. O King, so, still Sukadeva Goswami telling Maharaj Parikshit, O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personal Godhead, always and everywhere. And as we learn what the Lord does for us by Himself when He comes down, or by His expansions, and when we start appreciating more and more, and then why shouldn't we want to remember Him all the time? So Srila Shukadeva Goswami begins his verse with the word tasmat, or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of Bhakti Yoga. So Sukham. The Bhakti Yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the Lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. And that's your 9 devotional services, or 9 types. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either or all of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But now we rather do all of them because we're not really perfect in just one. So and Krishna likes variety as well. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function anyway in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice, because if we don't know what we're practicing, how can we progress? And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by the authorized person like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the super soul of everything, He should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. That is the special duty of the human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines. So you have to hear something, right? Machinery is not bad, because through the machine one can take advantage of hearing about the Lord as well. Yukta Viragya. But because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings to hear, because the scriptures like Bhagavad-Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings other than human beings have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by the impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality Godhead, and thus becomes enthusiastic and glorifying the Lord. All the great Acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Saraswati Thakur, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ and others have all extensively glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all-pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space. This is called Sanatan Dharma or Bhagavat Dharma. Sanatan means eternal, always and everywhere. Bhagavat means pertaining to Bhagwan, the Lord. The Lord is the master of all time and space, and therefore the Lord's holy name must be heard, glorified, and remembered everywhere in the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The word Cha also includes the remaining processes or methods of Bhakti Yoga as mentioned above. So, Srila Prabhupada giving the peace formula here. What is the peace? How to get peace? So, I'll just read this. A progress is dependent on hearing sufficiently and properly with attention. Because if we heard the message properly, then it becomes Chinese whispers, right? Somebody tells you something, and you heard something that you wanted to hear, and then you pass that on to somebody else. So the information or the knowledge becomes distorted. So very important to hear properly, and you can hear again and again, just to be sure. Now we have facility, we have recordings, you can hear. Krishna in the heart knows our intention. So what we should be doing and how we should be doing, why we should be doing. So he knows, what we are thinking. Srila Prabhupada was giving us all the information. All the information is there. What to do, how to do it, and why to do it. So we should use that information. So let's just see the last verse. Okay. So I'll just read this quickly. Pibanti ye bhagvat atmana satam kathamritam sharman puteshu sambratam punanti te vishya vidushita ashyam brajanti tacharan sarurakintim tikam sarurahantikam. Pibanti, who drink, ye those bhagavataha, or the person regarded, atmana, of the most dear, satam, of devotees, katha amritam, the nectar of the messages, sharman puteshu, within the a-holes, sambritam, fully filled, punanti, purify, they, vishya, material enjoyment, vidishta, ashya, polluted aim of life, brajanti, do go back, tat, the Lord, charan, feet, saduraha, antikam, near the lotus. So those who drink through oral reception, so he's still talking about hearing, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personally Godhead. So the sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engage in the exploitation of the undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord, and thus the distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food, grain, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc., in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world, as well as living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. There is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, namely sufficiently hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Katha Amritam mentioned in this verse, as indicated Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside, and the people in general in all parts of the world will be able to live a peaceful life of knowledge and bliss. For a pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with his name, fame, quality, and entourage etc. are all pleasing. And because such topics have been approved by great devotees like Narada, Hanuman, Nanda Maharaj, and other inhabitants of Vrindavan, certainly such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul. And by the constant hearing of the message of the Bhagavad-Gita and later Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one is assured herein by Srila Shukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality Godhead and render him loving service in the spiritual planet of name Goloka Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, directly accepted as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without one's attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virat conception of the Lord. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be pseudo-devotee. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglement. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta Force, so second canto, second chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Lord in the Heart. So Bhakti Yoga is again stressed that we should follow Bhakti Yoga, and even after for the process, we are not able to do it, and we're still following a material dream. Then only Krishna can help us, and pray for His mercy. But the process is there, and how and why is all explained by Srila Prabhupada, and we should follow the process as recommended. Simple living, high thinking is good, as mentioned, and it's an option that we can certainly follow. Obviously, we're living in this material world, so we have to do our duties as well. But we can use everything in Krishna's service. If we are in a highly paid job, we can obviously support the mission of people who are using simple living and high thinking. We can support them to preach like the sannyasis. So the grastas are also important, that they earn and help the other ashrams fulfill. So works like a system, one ashram system, that we help each other. And simple living, high thinking also means that we're not sort of crazy about material achievements, right? We do our duty to the best of our ability, but not like waste all our hours and not include bhakti in our life. There has to be a balance. We have to balance the bhakti and the material life as well. There should be a balance. They both go hand in hand, side by side, so we can definitely do both. So thank you so much. It's 10 to 9, so we'll just take a couple of realizations, and I'll stop sharing first of all. And everybody needs to get away. So we'll ask Pundikaksh Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dhanat Pranam. There is a lot of information again in these verses. Only few points get into the mind. Like today morning I sent a quote of Chaitanya Charan Prabhu of July 27th to my family. But before I send, I had to read that at least 6 times, because his language is difficult as well. And a simple English is difficult for me, so Vedas, how much difficult it is to understand. And that's why it's better to accept what our acharyas has given, because they understood those conclusions of Vedic knowledge, and they are given the essence of those Vedic knowledge. It's better to actually follow what they have given as a guideline, and do bhakti yoga. I mean, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did not deny all other processes when Ramanandra mentioned to him about Jnana Yoga, all those. But he said, tell me something which is even higher than that. So Bhakti Yoga is the higher, because you already completely surrendered. Like whatever activities you're doing, you're aligning activities for pleasing Krishna automatically. And pleasing Krishna is the highest dharma. That is the most important thing. So even though our knowledge is there, but our knowledge is very petty, and we have to understand that we are not independent, and that knowledge is given by the Lord, so that we can come back to Him by improving it. Not that we use that knowledge and think that we are the whole and soul great people now. Um, and that is it's not that easy to understand. Even many people, they ask this question that you don't see the Lord, so how can you actually worship a stone or anything? But again, Lord Prabhupada often give this example that sun you can see in the morning but not in the night time. That doesn't mean that sun doesn't exist. It is not. It's out of your side. That's it. So Lord is already there, and understand it from the scriptures. Jnana Chakshu, that's why we say. By through Vedic knowledge, you can understand this. That's all, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, and also Srila Prabhupada explains about electricity and gravity. We can't see electricity, but we can see its effects. Say with the Lord, we might not see the Lord, but we can definitely see His hand and arrangements in everything. Thank you, Prabhu. Kiran Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Yes, Bhakti Yoga supersedes everything. And even Brahma, 4 heads, had to read the Vedas 3 times. Who are we? We can just about read it once, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, but Brahma read it 3 times and then realized that there is only one absolute truth, and the absolute truth is Vishnu and Krishna. And that absolute truth resides in all living entities. That absolute truth is the Paramatma, which resides next to the soul. So the soul and the super soul are intrinsically connected. One cannot reside without the other. Only the materialists and the Mayavads and others will see a different version of that critique. Indeed, the materialists want evidence and proof of the existence of God, the existence of the super soul. His hand, Krishna's, the absolute truth, moves in mysterious ways. He is that spark of divinity, the spark of life that gives life to 2 gametes, to 2 entities, an egg and a sperm. And then after 9 months, you get the life. And then soon after, you get lactation. This is a miracle of life, and only the divine can engineer this. Right? There is no science that can replicate this. So we have to listen attentively, carefully, and with enthusiasm, the words of the Shastras. And the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the distilled version that we must focus on. He knows our limitations in the Kali Yuga. What we lack, he will carry. What we have, we can develop. And we have time, which is very limited. And so we need to maximize the time and to be mindful of our shortfalls, because bhakti is the supreme of all yogas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And we so, as we discussed before, that we're offering not just our body, our senses, our intelligence, ego, and mind as well. And I think that's sometimes we fail to do. At least myself, fail to offer my mind, my intelligence, and ego to Krishna. And how to do that? This is why we're studying this. How to learn to offer those things as well as the physical body that we have. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hina Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Bol, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Just very quick points for me were around how, and these topics have been touched on already, is around how attraction to Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. And I think it was verse 34, it starts off saying that, in summary, the focus isn't on meditation as a technique, but on loving absorption in the Lord. It's about a loving relationship with Krishna, and that depends on a steady practice. And the perfection of life is not measured by. So what that means is that the perfection of life is not measured by our wealth or material successes or how long we live for. It's whether our heart has become attached to Krishna. And I think the other key point was in verse 36 about how it's essential that every human being hears about and glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's interesting how the heart can be transformed by repeatedly hearing transcendental sound through Shravanam. And there's some great examples in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, so many cases where this happens. For example, Prahlad in the womb of his mother, simply by hearing the glories of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Narada Muni, was transformed. So Krishna personally cleanses the heart of one who regularly hears his glories. And in this day and age, that's so easy to do. We've got access to spiritual sound on the go, digitally, wherever we go, whether that's podcasts, online classes, YouTube, etc. Traveling, wherever we travel to, in the car, even at work, wherever we are. All it takes is a pair of headphones and off we go. We can be listening to it. And also I think it's important to point out that everything else which is opposite to that, opposite to Krishna Katha, whether that might be gossip, materialistic talk, criticism, that also leaves an impression on us too. So our consciousness gradually becomes shaped by those impressions too. So that's having like the adverse effect. So it's just very interesting how keeping the vibration spiritual, whether that's Krishna Katha, listening to the holy name, our ears can shape our heart. If I had to summarize it, let's not undermine how important that is. And I think that's what's being conveyed in this verse. So thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Absolutely. What do we allow? It's up to us what we allow to nourish or, to disturb our mind, isn't it? That what do we associate with? And we have to be mindful of what we associate with, who we associate with. Some people we can't, we cannot help, we have no choice. We have to associate with them and listen to them and, allow their information to enter our ears. But there's others that we can definitely, get benefit from and from the right sources. Thank you, Mataji. Vijay Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, it's quite a lot there, and even Lord Brahma is studying it so thoroughly and so many times. And I just come to the conclusion that we're very fortunate to have it, the conclusions of the Vedas given to us on a plate of Srila Prabhupada. By his mercy, he's made it a chance for us to follow this, and with whatever little intelligence we have, we can use it for doing the right thing here. But I just think we should be very, very grateful for that and do our little bit at least to try and follow this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vijay. Okay, we just take one more. It's 9 o'clock now nearly. So, Sinta Mataji, you there? Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Yeah, according to this, all the verses when you read is saying about the purpose of the Vedas is all awaken love for Krishna. And love is present, Lord is present in everyone's heart as super soul, Paramatma. And it's mentioned here like hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord with bhakti. Heart becomes purified, and hearing we have to do very attentively, and also chanting offenselessly, and remembering the Lord is always. That's what I can say. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so Praveen Mataji, you want to add something? We still have, I think, maybe.
Hare Krishna. Well, we could have heard from Ajay Gaurarai Prabhu and Mataji, but yeah, the only point I'll add is like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam described as torchlight. So we are very fortunate that we get to hear from you because it illuminates the path towards spiritual knowledge. And again, the importance of hearing, how hearing is important from the right sources. As the hearing shapes our consciousness, we can see what's happening in the society, children listening to all sorts of music and then committing suicide. So it is very, very important what we absorb. So it is all purifying our heart, and the aim of life is to achieve connection with the Lord and serve the Lord. And that can only be done if we are hearing from the right sources. And we are very fortunate what we've been given. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, explaining all the translations and purports. And thank you to yourself. And the other problem I always say is like, because society, people are away from the God and thinking we are the enjoyers, we are the controllers. Oh, I can do this, I can do that. But no, Krishna is the controller. He is the enjoyer. And we are not this body. We are not the doers. We are just spiritual beings. We are guided by Paramatma. and we are dependent on the Lord for everything. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhuri. Okay, I mean, Ajay, we can hear from on Wednesday anyway. He will be doing the whole summary of this, so look forward to that. Radharani, shall we leave it here?
Yeah, all I just want to add, everyone, Hare Krishna pranams to all of you, is that it is bhakti, and it is bhakti. That's the conclusion given about the Vedas by Srila Prabhupada. And if just have that in your psyche, in your consciousness, 24/7, you can't go wrong. Your ticket to Godhead is already confirmed. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Okay, so let's stop here, and please do join on Wednesday evening. So we won't have a session in the morning. We'll have we'll associate in the evening. So please do join and hear from Ajay Gururaya. So Granth Rashi Bhagavad ki Jai,
Srila
Bhat ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. And we'll do chapter 3 on Friday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
very much.
Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.